the first store was one that I thought was definitely going to be this multi-million pound business, but it was more of a passion project than a business. So I looked at it more of like, I just love this product, I want to bring it to market, rather than with a business head and, does this have product market fit? Will people buy this? But in essence, it was a waterless car wash product. And I loved it. I spent so long like getting samples. We bought loads of custom stock, spent loads on getting the labels designed, the formula perfect, the scent perfect. And it was just like everything. Like every day, that was all I thought about, basically. And I didn't know about ecom at this point, by the way. Like this was just like, I had an idea for a product and then I had to Google like, where am I going to sell a product online? And Shopify was the number one result. So I kind of fell into the ecom industry. And that one, I spent like £15,000, like pretty much everything I had at the time on this brand. And I just thought it was going to be this massive success. However, when we started running ads and everything like that, I had a business partner who was a media buyer. So very, very talented in Facebook ads. And they were doing all the right things, but the results weren't coming in and it was super unprofitable. So at that point I was like, okay, what are we going to do? So yeah, we continued running for a bit, just losing money every month until we realized like, yeah, this probably isn't going to work. And we just kind of had to face facts. It's just not going to work.
It's difficult once you've invested so much time and energy into something, especially if, like you say, it was a passion project, which I don't think is necessarily the right or wrong thing, but sometimes following your passion can kind of sway the decision making. Do you think?
It. And that was the problem, really, is that the decisions were more emotional than logical, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and it does happen. And I think there is a time and a place for following your passion, and that's not to say you can't build successful businesses that way, but I think you took what you learned from that route, and I think what you're selling at the moment isn't your passion, right? But you're making money.
No, and that's exactly it. The second brand flips it on its head. Instead of spending 15 grand, I spent 500 quid on ads just to test it, and a tiny bit, like let's say a couple £100 on the stock, which was made of paper, so very cheap to buy. Fulfilling it all myself, making it all myself. Didn't like pay for anything externally. Just kind of free Shopify theme. Like I really did it on a budget. And it flew,
because you had to though, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. I went from like, I had these online businesses before. I had an influencer agency, and that was my thing for, since I was 14 years old. I'd been in the YouTube business, and that's all I'd ever known. So physical products was something completely unknown to me, but that was all the money I'd made from my previous businesses that I'd actually saved, because I spent it on cars or travel or whatever, computers, like whatever kids do. And it was all the money I had left, and I was like, this kind of has to work. And because going from having a little bit of savings to spending it all on this brand, thinking I was going to be like Lord Sugar, like risk it all and then it's going to pay off, and then thinking, okay, now I got 500 quid left in my bank, what do I do? Yeah, that was a humbling moment. But yeah, it's true. Like when you have that fire underneath you, you kind of have to make it work. And I'm very glad that it paid off. Like always very grateful for that.
Diamonds are made under pressure, right? Like I always feel like when there's a fire under your feet and you've got urgency or pressure to get something done, as long as you don't give up, provided that there is opportunity there, it always kind of just finds a way of working itself out. And clearly that's what happened to you. But where you actually came up with the idea for your second store was while browsing online for a present for your grandma, right? Yeah. So it was something that my nan had recently been talking about, and I just thought when I saw it, or rather, I already known about it. And to preface it, like this business model's been around since like the 80s, 90s. Like it's been around for a long time, like 30 years. It's just never in like a super modern digital form. So like they would be advertising in newspapers or on TV appearances on like breakfast news shows. And I'd always like known about it in the back of my head. And then when my nan was speaking about this particular topic that she was interested in, I was like, this is the perfect gift for her. So when I went and searched for it, I was like, is it just me, or does this seem like really easy to make? Like, I literally could make this myself. Why am I paying somebody to do it at a premium? And I thought, let me just try it, because I'm like, because if I can make this myself, then I can sell it myself. And it was like my little entrepreneur brain was just kind of going off in that direction. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. And I felt like I made a superior product to what was available in the market. So I was just like, this is an instant yes. I have to at least try this. The only problem was obviously I had no money and I had no experience running Facebook ads. So that was like my main hurdle. But the reason I say Facebook ads is because that's like the main medium that the competitors weren't using. So when I when I found out about this product, I was like, hang on a minute, like nobody's advertising this on Facebook, yet they're getting tons of sales from I don't know where, just word of mouth, I guess. Imagine if someone to run Facebook ads, like direct response ads for this product. So then I was like, I have to do it. So this is when I roped in one of my friends at the time. I was living in Birmingham, actually, in the UK for like 3 months. And over there, I had a friend who had a social media marketing agency.
And I basically said to him, I was like, look, mate, I got no money, but I got this idea. And instantly he was like, yeah, this idea is a good idea. So I was like, okay, cool. How about you run the ads for me for the first month just to see how it goes. And then let's say we hit once we hit like 10K a month, let's say, I'll just start paying your normal retainer and become a client of yours. Now his normal retainer was like 2.5K pounds per month, which was a lot of money if your business is only doing 10K. But I was like, at this point, I was just going to do anything just to get those ads live because I just felt like it would work. And lo and behold, first month we did £10,000 in revenue, and the profit margins were 50% net, which is like crazy.
That's crazy.
Like at this point, I'd not really been making consistent income. Like especially with my agency, it was more like 1 month you'd make a couple grand, then you make nothing, then you make 8 grand, then you make nothing, and it's just like so inconsistent. But then instantly, from just having this idea, putting in 500 quid and getting back 5 grand profit, I was like, whoa,
yeah,
like there's something here, and I need to kind of refine this and learn a bit more about this. And that is how the journey into ecom started.
So would you maybe say that you kind of discovered, like you said, a product that's been around maybe since the 80s or the 90s, or this particular style of product, noticed that they were maybe a little bit of maybe run by a slightly older generation, maybe where they weren't leveraging things like meta ads or even paid advertising at all? I think you said they were relying solely on organic, and maybe they didn't even have a strong presence on socials.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different to how a lot of people that I know of these days do product research. They'll often scan meta ad library or have a look on Google and try to find products where people are already advertising them to get the green tick that, okay, this is a product that if people are advertising it, they must also be making money, and they'll use that almost like as a starting point for their product research. But what you've done is almost identified a product in a completely different market, which is maybe why not many other people have done it, because it's just not fallen into their research process, do you think?
I think that's very true, because if people saw the product, and this is why I don't say it online, it's so low barrier to entry that like it's almost like people don't even consider it because it's just not in their line of sight. But if they did, then everyone would be doing it. Yeah. So it's a funny one. But like you said, the founders of the competitors are like 60s, 70s now in terms of age. And their websites, apart from one, literally like one had a modern website, but their website is like, I don't know if you've ever seen a website from like the 90s or the early 2000s. Yeah. They've all got this flat, distinct look, and they all look like that. And I was like, oh my God, if they're making money from this, imagine I work up a Shopify store and I put some UGC together, and that's exactly what I did, and it worked. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that no one had done it.